Hello, hello, everyone. All right, we got so many people in here. That's awesome. Is anyone currently experiencing any problems related to some of the outages on campus? We just had a power outage here in IT. All right, we'll take silence as good. All right, there he is. Okay, we are at 3 p.m. Hello, everyone. My name is Isaac Poole. I'm an OIT services professional and the facilitator of Bytes. My colleague Neil is here with me today. He is an accomplished cybersecurity professional and practitioner. And today we've got a couple of things that we are going to talk about. Talk a little bit about password handlers. We're going to talk a little bit, also known as password managers. We're going to talk a little bit about OneDrive and the security and redundancy that it gets you. There's a lot of good stuff in this one. So without taking up too much time, I'd like to just turn it over to Neil. But before I do that, just so I don't forget, if you have any questions, I'll be monitoring the chat. So please feel free to type questions into the chat. And when we hit stopping points, I'll read them aloud and Neil can answer your questions. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Without further ado, Neil, our cybersecurity professional.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Looks like we got a good chunk of people in here, 24 of you so far, not including me. So excuse me. So yeah, today, as Isaac talked about, we'll be talking about some of these fun topics, but let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm Neil Kautzner. I am the Information Security Officer here at UCCS. I took on this role back in September. And before that, I was the security analyst for the campus for the previous 7 years. So yeah, I've been here for, it'll be 8 years actually. I was the analyst, and it'll be, my 9th year will be 1 full year of being the information security officer. Other than that, I don't have much else about me. I've just been working here at UCCS ever since I got out of college, and it's the only place I've ever worked and the only place I've ever thought about working at. But all right, so let's get to some of these topics. Hopefully you guys, some of these topics will spark some questions in the chat. I want to leave a good bit of time at the end for questions. So please, even if it's off topic, I don't mind answering off topic questions about security as well. All right, let's get this started. So first thing I'm going to talk about is the utilization of password managers and password vaults, or whatever moniker they're being used. One example is here in OIT, we used to use LastPass, which is still a great. Uh-oh. Okay, I think we're good. We used to use LastPass here in OIT to handle all of our passwords. This would be for our help desk and all of our system passwords as well. So the benefit of these is that you use one master password to access your vault. And inside this vault, you have all your passwords, which are encrypted and held in the cloud. Now, this means you can also access them from other places. If you're not on your system, you can still access them. A lot of these password managers, they have apps that you can get for your iPads, iPhones, Android devices, and such. So these are nice to have just because you can store all of your passwords in there, and they can be used across multiple devices. So you don't have to have one kind of family, with that Apple, everything's stored in the Apple devices. You can use the password manager in there, but it doesn't carry over to your Firefox browser on your PC or your laptop. So if you have this app, such as LastPass or Bitwarden, which we are using now at OIT, Bitwarden, it's a little more cost effective for us, has some great free features, doesn't look as pretty, but it's good for power users, and it's free. So you don't have to pay for it, whereas LastPass is now charged, costs a subscription, unfortunately. So with the password manager, you can have it across all your devices. Whereas if you're just storing it on your Apple device, your iOS phone or whatever it is, your iPad, then you can only share those across your Apple devices. You can't share that across your Windows PC. Next, we'll talk a little bit Bitwarden. In the end, I will remind me, and I'll put a link in there to Bitwarden, unless you can access a link to Bitwarden for us, Isaac, and post it in the chat for people to take a look at. Next, we'll talk about multi-factor authentication. This has been talked about for so long and has been kind of on repeat and beating the proverbial dead horse, if you will, with this terminology here. But multi-factor authentication is, one of the best ways that you can protect your accounts and your information. Especially, we use it here at UCCS, as you know, for Office 365, and we have it set to a conditional access, which means it's only going to ask you for your, your second form of authentication if the Microsoft Analytics notices that, hey, you were just in Denver 10 minutes ago, but now you're in Dubai. So, then possible time travel, it's going to activate that, it's going to trigger that conditional access, and it's going to pop up asking you if it's actually you. And most likely it's not. And then the malicious actor will be hit with a web page saying, hey, this is enter in your multi-factor authentication code. And if you don't have that, then if they don't have that, then they can't get into your account. So multi-factor authentication, most banks allow this on their web, so that you can access their web portals to look at your account information. I highly recommend turning on multi-factor authentication on those. Any banking account, sites, your Amazon account, especially if you have your credit card attached to your Amazon account, you want to protect all of that. So anywhere you really have a credit card information or PHI, HIPAA information, if you can, if you have logins for Centura Health or something, if there's multi-factor authentication, enable it. Just have it enabled. It's better to have it enabled, and then maybe you forget your password, and that's fine. You can reset that, but the multi-factor authentication will protect you from many different things. Looks like we have somebody. We have a couple people that are unmuted. Isaac, would you be able to mute them? Because I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
So I'm working on admin privileges on this, but looks like, yeah,
Oh.
so thank you, Dan. And then Amy Silva Smith, can you go ahead and mute yourself for me real quick?
Working on it.
Thank you.
I'm on my phone. I'm having challenges.
No worries. I'll continue on while we get this sorted out. Thank you very much for your patience. All right, so multi-factor authentication. If you can turn it on, turn it on. If you use gaming websites, or if your kids use gaming websites and they have your credit card information and they're using it to buy in-game currencies or whatever the case may be, make sure that where they are entering that information, usually they can link it to some something like the Epic Store or whatever it is, the Steam Store, for example. You would want to make sure that their account is being protected with multi-factor authentication, because if they can get access to that account, then your credit card information is accessible. So anywhere you're linking your credit card information, I highly recommend turning on multi-factor authentication. All right, let's talk a little bit about OneDrive here on campus. So we've moved over to OneDrive, and we're looking to move everybody over, including our, getting rid of Columbia. It's already pretty much done, but we've gotten rid of Columbia, and now we're all in the cloud using OneDrive. The benefit of this is the redundancy that's up in the cloud. And we have, business agreements and service level agreements with Microsoft to make sure that these, that our services stay, we have a certain amount of uptime. I can't say exactly how much of, what percentage that uptime is, because I didn't look at the contract that much, but it does have a certain level of uptime. So if you can't access it, then, it's going to be very temporary, if you will. And the backups, it's much easier to do restores to these, to this information. So one of the big things, the reason why we have OneDrive, and we have a ton of space in there for each individual user, probably more than you could imagine, but I highly recommend everybody be moving, saving everything that they can to their OneDrive. The reason for this is I've had multiple times where a user, faculty, or a staff member has come to me with a computer, and they're saying, "Hey, my hard drive died. I can't get this information." Sometimes I have ways that I can do some digital forensics and get into the system and recover that data. But if the hard drive truly is dead, whereas it's no longer working, it won't spin anymore. Maybe it's popped a couple circuits on the flash module for the SSDs. Then it's generally unrecoverable at that point. And so if you're saving everything to your desktop, and you lose that hard drive, then you can almost count that information gone. It looks like Isaac has some information here. Yeah, so four times this month. So it's a big issue. Well, not percentage wise, but it can be a big issue, especially if it comes to you. If it happens to you, you don't want to be. You don't want it to happen to you. I've had it happen to me, and I was able to recover some data, but yeah, make sure that you're using OneDrive. I use cloud tools all the time now to save data, and you can access it. Yeah, Isaac says, and you can access it anywhere with OneDrive. So you can get the OneDrive app for, you can even get it for iOS devices. You don't have to have it's not strictly stuck to Windows devices, so you can use it on anything. And we have it protected with multi-factor authentication, and we have, service level agreements and business agreements as well that allow us to house HIPAA data in there and sensitive data. So this is a benefit to any of you working in departments that may be handling sensitive data, and you want to, have a little access database or a SharePoint site that you have sensitive data on. You can do this, and it will be, it falls within regulations within HIPAA, FERPA, and some of the other ones that may or may not have heard of. So I believe there's, I don't know, Isaac, do we have some training on OneDrive, our knowledge base?
So yes and no. We are in the works. So my job is training, and I will be working on getting OneDrive and SharePoint training together, just to make sure everyone's up to speed on it. We currently have like a little bit of documentation, but it's mostly so that those first level technicians can help you troubleshoot stuff with OneDrive. Just a quick note, if you are a Mac user and you are on Monterey, so if you know what I'm talking about, you should be on version 12.3. Do not download OneDrive. There is a known problem where it bricks your computer. That's a technical term. It bricks your computer. It turns your computer into an expensive brick. So just like to warn everyone, please, if you have Monterey 12.13, that is a Mac operating system. If you have that, please don't download OneDrive. Just use the web version, and that's just onedrive.com. So just like to let everyone know that, but we'll get OneDrive going, or training going for everyone.
Awesome, thank you for that. Yeah, I didn't know about that bug, so that's interesting. I'm sure they'll get it fixed in short order. All right, so on to the next topic, phishing. It's always a huge issue. Luckily, we do have pretty good filters, and Microsoft does a pretty good job. Excuse me, does a pretty good job of filtering out all the bad phishing emails that come through. Now, if you do have your emails being forwarded to your Gmail and stuff like that, just make note of that. But the Gmail, if you're accessing your Gmail, a lot of people use Gmail for personal. The personal Gmail filter is pretty okay, but not really, honestly. I get tons of spam in my Gmail, and it's actually kind of horrendous. Just because it's a personal, it's not enterprise level, so they don't really do a whole lot of filtering for us. So be careful with that, especially if you're using, passwords and stuff carried across the same sites. I highly suggest you do not do that, and that'll go back into utilization of the password manager. Those password managers will allow you to create new passwords on any website, and it saves that password automatically with the URL and the username, and it saves it in there, encrypts it, and it will keep it nice and safe. And then when you go back to those websites or those login areas, it'll autofill for you. So that's why those are super nice, and then you can have a nice secure password. I suggest something that's 12 characters or more. It doesn't have to be using all kinds of crazy characters and whatnot, but if you're into that kind of thing, go for it. But I like to keep mine a little more, in the realm of a passphrase. So, random words strung together. So then the phishing identification, use the hover method. A lot of times if you get a link, you can hover over a link without clicking on it, and you can see where it's going to lead you, because they can obfuscate, and it can have a malicious link underneath there. Also, especially during the holiday seasons, you get emails from FedEx and UPS saying, oh, you have a package arriving. And a lot of people do have packages arriving around those times. So be very careful about clicking on those links. When in doubt, just delete it. If you are expecting it, I would suggest verifying that it's from that it's actually from UPS or FedEx or whatever delivery system it is. You can use the hover method, or you can just call FedEx or UPS, and if you were expecting something, you should have a tracking number at least. So I would suggest doing that. And phishing, especially if you're handling sensitive data here on campus, please be very careful. We've had somebody that had their system or their account get hacked through a phishing email, and somebody ordered a bunch of stuff with a procurement card and whatnot. And so, yeah, it was not fun. It didn't happen on this campus, but it did happen. And it does happen. So we just got to be very cognizant of, what kind of emails we're getting. And a lot of times you'll get a spear phishing email. So these are the ones that slip through the cracks of the Microsoft filtering. So these ones are targeted at, people that have a high level, executive in their title or officer in their title or something of that nature. Or if you have a finance in your title, they're going to try to go after you just because, those emails are valuable, especially if they can access them and they can get, access to procurement cards and ST accounts and whatever else that account has access to. So be very careful with that, please. We don't want to be victims of that. All right, talk about the last topic here. We'll talk about device updates. And then I think I'll add on, did you want me to talk about log4j at all? Or yeah, okay. I can talk about log4j. As you guys know, that was a big issue for a little while. But let's talk about the device updates. So this kind of rolls into log4j. So device updates, and this isn't just your devices. These are your applications, software that are housed on your iPhone, Android phone, iPads, Android tablets, PCs, Macs, you name it. If it can be updated, try to keep it on auto update and auto install. Sometimes there's the option to update but not install. So make sure you have it to auto update and install. That way you're getting, the most up-to-date software, firmware, whatever it is, applications, that they're all just being updated as often as possible, so that you don't become a victim of what we call 0 day. So these 0 days, these have been a hot topic. I think there's been 60 in the past year, something like that. Now, these 0 days, what it is it's the vulnerability in an application or software or the underlying code that allows a hacker to gain maybe authenticated or unauthenticated access to that application and your data that's involved with it. So, one of the best ways that I can think of to keep your data, to keep yourself safe from these, is to being vigilant and, speedy on updating your software and, that's your operating system and all the applications within, if they can be updated. So that's the number one way to protect yourself from these. I'm not saying that you need to go out and research all the 0 days that are out there and all the scary things that, some of these people are trying to do to us, but that's the best way to keep your stuff updated. If you're running a web server, make sure that your web server is up to date and everything's on it, good to go. But if you're running a web server, then you probably already know these things, hopefully. So, all right. So that is about device updates. It's really just kind of a reminder here. Not much else to talk about it on that end. Log4j. So Log4j was, a big 0-day in the sense that it affected so many systems, applications out there that it, got the highest rating of criticality that it could. So, and as some of you know, we moved, our portal and PeopleSoft and some other things behind the VPN. And so why we did that is because if we move it behind the VPN, we can know who's accessing it. And if you don't have access to the VPN, your username and password, then you can't access what's behind that VPN. So we did that for the time being. Felt like a while, but it was at least 3 weeks. I think we had it behind the VPN, but it was behind the VPN so that we could wait for these vendors to push out patches to patch Log4j. So, because we're not always UCCS, older CU system, Denver, we're not always, running and creating our own applications and software. A lot of times we use vendors like PeopleSoft. And so we have to rely on them to give us the patches that are necessary to fix the vulnerabilities that, could be critical to our business. So we got to ensure that we're protecting it even when they aren't able to protect it themselves. So they weren't able to get out a patch quickly enough, but we still needed access to it because of the business need, right? So we had to figure out a way to kind of solve that issue and mitigate the impact from Log4j. So we put a lot of things behind the VPN. If anybody has any more questions about that, there was a article that I did with the Scribe about Log4j if you wanted to have a read about it. But otherwise, that is about it. Oh, let me talk about VPN actually. It's a great resource, especially from all you work from home folks, such as myself and some others out there. If you're partial work home or if you're students, utilize our VPN. It's going to help you, stay protected because your information is then being routed from your home onto campus through the tunnel, and you will be behind our firewalls. So and it's not like we're out here tracking all of your information. We're not decrypting any information and knowing what people are doing on the VPN. You can access the VPN and use it for any of your web browsing, purchasing stuff on Amazon, whatever the case is. It's just being routed through our network and securely, obviously, and protected by the firewalls as well. So this will help protect you from your system getting infected as well if you use our VPN. So be sure to be using that whenever you can and whenever you want. So I'm just putting that out there for everybody. Utilize the VPN. It's gone up, our usage has gone up substantially, and we can handle a lot more. So the more people that use it, the better. And that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Neil.
You're
Just
very
a couple
welcome.
a couple of closing remarks before we get into a little bit of question time. I know a lot of people struggled with the VPN. We also have something called the virtual labs, and that's another way to get onto campus without using a VPN. I'm going to post that link in the chat in 1 second. And then we do have a couple of questions. I had a question earlier from Josh S. What is your opinion on Norton security? And then I just saw a new question come in. What is your opinion on commercial VPN?
Awesome. And then I see, okay, looks like Elizabeth asked a couple questions. So yeah, Norton security. Honestly, I would stick with Windows Defender. If you have a Windows machine, use Windows Defender, Windows Security. I think it's still called Windows Defender. Yeah, Windows security, sorry. It's called Windows security. I would use Windows security. You know, in the past, I used to laugh at Windows antivirus. Now it's substantially increased its prowess, and it is, yeah, it is top tier. So I would use, if you're using a Windows machine, you know, cut the subscription to Norton or McAfee and use Windows Defender or Windows Security. That's all I will say about that. If you want to use the others, that's, you know, do your research is all I say. I'm not going to say don't use these, because using something is better than nothing. But yeah, Norton also, they, you know, recently implemented that whole crypto miner into their antivirus. I believe it was Norton. And it should be a toggle off. I think it's like an opt-in thing, but I would not use that, if I might say so myself.
Okay, can confirm, Norton does mine cryptocurrency on your computer, and it is a toggle off. I'm gonna post the support page real quick. For everyone who is like, what is cryptocurrency? What is a miner? What it's gonna do is it's gonna consume some of your computer's computational power in exchange for some money that you don't get. So they're basically using your power and your power bill to earn a little bit of money for themselves.
That's after you bought the product.
Right. So everyone take that as you will.
Yep. I would highly suggest not using Norton at this time. But, you know, like I said, Windows Defender or Windows Security is fantastic. If you're on the Mac side, for our Macs here on campus, we utilize Sophos. It does a great job. The Sophos Home is really great because it keeps up to date with the Mac OS is actually a little bit better than the Enterprise AV, surprisingly. So I would recommend Sophos. And then what is the other questions here? Let me pull these up.
Real quick, a note and just an advertising piece that Apple likes to say is that Macs do not get viruses. That is wrong. Macs do get viruses. So Sophos is pretty good. That, like Neil said, that is what we use.
Yep. All right, so it looks like Elizabeth Daniels, if you're still here, can you set up a laptop to sync automatically with OneDrive? Yes, yes, you can. You'd have to, Microsoft has some documentation. I don't know if we have some documentation out there to where you can set a folder that will automatically sync with your OneDrive. On campus, if it's a university-owned imaged laptop, then it automatically does that for your system as is.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually sync for me, so that's why I was asking.
Gotcha. That would be a good thing for our service desk.
Okay.
I did post that in the chat earlier. They can help you resync that up and even kind of choose what you like to sync. So you can set certain folders to do it. That's how I do it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. And it is a UCCS image laptop, so.
Perfect.
Perfect. Yep, the service desk will be able to square you up with that real fast.
I got another question here. It's what is your opinion on commercial VPNs?
So commercial VPNs, I personally do not use one. I don't know what they're actually decrypting through their traffic, through their VPN service, because they could be decrypting your data and gaining analytics on it. So it's hard to say, you know, there's like NordVPN and stuff out there. I would just say use our VPN. I don't like to use one at home just because I don't technically have a necessity to use one, and I'm not trying to go watch, Netflix on different regions or anything like that. You can actually do that without having to use a VPN, but I won't go into that. Okay.
Looks like comment. I was thinking about using Cylance instead of Norton.
Yep, Cylance is good. They have some really high end AVs that can do a lot of cool things at the enterprise level, but I'm not sure about their their home edition type stuff. If it's a paid service, I would just do your research if it's going to cover everything that you want it to. And if you think it's going to be a benefit to you, then go ahead and give it a try. If there's a free trial, I would use that first, see if you like it, if it conflicts with anything that you're trying to do on your system as is. Otherwise, yeah, just make sure you do some research on it before you go purchase it. What I think of OnePass for password manager. Yep, OnePass is a good one. KeyPass, LastPass, Bitwarden. It's any of those are going to be good. So when you start paying for them, you're just paying for maybe some more accessibility issue things. Like you can have more than one system linked together, something like that. So how does Bitwarden stay in business if it's free advertising? If they get hacked, all your passwords are vulnerable at once. So they actually don't have your passwords like clear text. It's encrypted. So you don't have to worry about it. If they get hacked, then your data is safe anyways, because they're just handling the data. They don't actually have it in clear text. It's already been encrypted. So you're good. Kaspersky for masks. If you want, Chuck, I would use Sophos. It's free. The home edition is great too. Unless you're trying to get some special features, because a lot of these will have special features like web browser content check and stuff like that. If you need that, then you can pay for it. Otherwise, Sophos, the home edition, the free edition is fine, because they're all really gonna really protect you from those signatures. So they're gonna be signature based. So they have a database of signatures of all the known malware that's out there. And then if an executable comes across, or DLL, or whatever the case is, a file comes across and it gets run through the antivirus, then it'll check it across all those signatures and tell you yes or no if it's good or bad.
Quick question for you, Neil. Should I post "Have I been pwned" in the chat so that people can see if their passwords have been hacked?
If you want, that's a fun one. That's a cool little website.
Cool.
We actually use "Have I been pwned" here in the security department. We have our domain registered with it, so it'll actually send us a notification if one of our domain username, or not usernames, but yeah, our usernames, emails gets registered on this website. It'll tell us, it'll kick back and say, hey, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 of your domain emails have been found in this data breach. It'll tell you exactly where the data breach came from and give you a little information on the data breach itself. So that's a fun one to kind of check. When I first did it, it was kind of scary, but if you're using multi-factor, then you're pretty safe.
I would like to issue a warning before you go to that website. So that website is perfectly safe. And just for some background, pwned, P-W-N-E-D, is a hacker term that means that you have been hit with a hack and it was successful. Before you do that, please make sure that you are prepared to go change a bunch of your passwords. Even though I use multi-factor, for a long time. I had old emails that I checked and they were, 20, 30 places, 20, 30 hacks. And that's a decent amount, but just keep in mind that, that's normal. And also it doesn't mean that you're currently, like, no one currently necessarily has your information, but it's a good kind of like kick in the rear to go change those passwords and to go make sure that your accounts really are secure.
Yep. Thank you for that. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it'll even have old data. If you have some old emails in there that you know of, go ahead, type them in and see what you get hit on, or old passwords. So if you use a password, it'll tell you, it'll recognize that password and in breaches, and then it'll say, well, this password has been seen in this many breaches. So that's why it's good to, NIST has put out a guidance. They've changed it a few times. It used to be 7 characters and then went up to like 8, something like that, maybe 10. And now they're recommending that you don't do password changes at all. And this is coming from the highest level, coming down saying, you don't need to change your passwords all the time. So find a good, strong way of creating passwords using those password managers to do it for you, 12 characters or more, and it'll save it and it's there for you. So you won't even honestly have to remember the password. All you have to know is your master password and have your multi-factor authentication enabled on that. And you're, as secure as you really can be without, doing some weird, crazy things. But I would suggest doing it that way. Any other questions? Concerns to enable TPM 2.0. Not unless it interferes with to upgrade to Win 11. We're not doing upgrades on campus that I know of yet to Win 11, and TPM is a great thing to have because then it protects your system from, changes to the hardware. So, okay, personal system. Okay. I don't see a reason not to, unless there's some conflicts out there that I haven't researched it yet. Because I haven't even upgraded to Windows 11 yet at home. I'm still on Windows 10. I'm enjoying it, but TPM is nice if you want to. Oh, on your iPhones. Ooh, I don't use one on my iPhone actually, and here's why. iPhones are pretty good about this, especially with the iOS process for applications and stuff. Unless everything that can be downloaded on the iPhone has to be vetted by Apple unless you jailbreak it. So that's the difference between iOS and Android. People love Android because you got the freedom. You can download whatever you want, all these crazy APKs from Korea and stuff like that and whatnot. But those are not vetted by, Google or anybody like that. So the Android devices won't be able, or Google doesn't vet those applications. I think last year there was 4 million applications on the Google store that were malicious. So be aware of that if you are an Android user and you're downloading stuff off of there, especially like third-party stuff. That's even not, that's not on the Android store. So yeah, iPhone is pretty secure in that fashion because everything that you can download onto it, unless you jailbroke it, is vetted by Apple. So the only insecurities will be from the vulnerabilities that were in the system in the first place. So you get there. And the TPM, what about using malware bytes? Yeah, you can use malware bytes, that's fine. It's really up to preference. I just prefer Windows security because it does a fantastic job nowadays and it integrates well. And sometimes Malwarebytes and these other antiviruses, they can conflict with things that you might be running on your system. And, and if you are getting another antivirus, make sure you're disabling Windows. So Windows covers the waterfront. I don't understand that. Would you be able to define that? Yeah, Windows security covers the waterfront. What's the waterfront? Sorry, I'm not familiar with that. Yes, it does. If you pull it up, it even has, a bunch of new features. It's very comprehensive. You can do, yeah, sorry. You can scan individual files. It does, it does device performance health. Make sure that it integrates with your Windows firewall as well, your personal firewall on the system. So it integrates with that. And it's also great because it doesn't interfere with other applications and stuff that you're running, whereas like Malwarebytes and Norton will sometimes interfere with other applications that you may be running. And if you do choose to use Malwarebytes or Norton or whatever the case is, make sure that you're disabling Windows security. You do not want to have both of them running. That doesn't mean double the security, it just means double the problems. Because you will then get some conflicts and possibly get like a blue screen here and there and stuff like that. So hopefully that answered your question, Gordon. I would, using Windows security is fantastic. If you want to use Malwarebytes, by all means, go for it. If it's your personal preference.
All right. Any more questions?
Yes, Malwarebytes is old school. I used to use Malwarebytes too when Windows was not so great and Avast. Definitely used those. All right, awesome. If there's no other questions, thank you all very much. Hope
Awesome,
to do this
guys.
again.
Well, sorry, go ahead, Neil.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for letting us talk about security. If you have any further questions, you can always reach out, especially just to get this recording. So this recording, it's going to end up in an inbox somewhere. We're going to recover that link. And then if you need that link, or if somebody who is like, I really want to watch Bytes, let us know. We can get you that link. We can get them that link as well. And always feel free, if you have any questions, don't hesitate, contact the service desk. That's still helpdesk@uccs.edu. So feel free to contact there. And anything seems off, anything seems weird, just contact us. That's what we're here for. We want to protect you. We want to protect the university in terms of cybersecurity. So if no one has any other questions, then I'll let everyone go.
Let me add one more thing. If you guys have if any of you in the audience have any suggestions on topics that you would like to hear in future Bytes, please let us know, so that we're not kind of repeating the same things over and over again that we feel that are, still important. But if you want to see, have a topic about something that's a little more, intermediate or advanced in the understandings of cybersecurity, please let us know. If you want us to go over, perhaps, what kind of projects we're working on or whatever the case may be, please let us know what topics we can talk about. I'd love to do more of these.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.